Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. So today, I want to talk to you about something that's going to be controversial, but everything in this video you can look up for yourself. And I want to talk to you about how you're taught to be poor. And what do I mean by that? I'm not talking on a fundamental basis. I'm just literally telling you the system was rigged from even before you were born, and the system is still in place today. So what got me go down this road was I asked myself after I've become financially independent basically and early retired, why wasn't I taught any of this in school? Now my wife went to college and she wasn't taught any of this there either. So I had to fundamentally ask myself, if this is the way, obviously, why isn't everybody taught? And that's because they are setting you up to be poor. Now what do I mean by that? Well, let's look at the standard American system. You're told to go get a good job so you can afford the good things, so you can take care of your family. Who makes those good things? The same job you work. They tell you it's good for the economy. They don't tell you to invest. They don't tell you to start businesses. They tell you to go work for someone else. Get a good job. It's the American dream. Then you can have the house, the cars, the vacations. So I went down the rabbit hole, and what I found will probably bother a lot of you. Some of you will say this conspiracy, but feel free to look it all up. It's all very basic information. I'm going to keep it short. So, one person can be attributed to why you're poor, and that's going to sound hilarious until I explain it out. And that is John D. Rockefeller. That's right. Mr. Rockefeller of Standard Oil, and the Rockefeller family is continuing this tradition today, but they do it through stocks, and I'll explain that later. So, back in 1903, John D. Rockefeller was basically rolling in money. I'm just going to be honest. He owned manufacturing, he owned Standard Oil, and then he had copper mines, coal mines, and many other different commodity type based businesses. But honestly, refining was his big business. All right, so he'd make byproducts. So he'd make oil, and in the byproduct, you'd get Vaseline. You would get CO2. That's where his big money was, manufacturing and those. So he needed factory workers. But we'll get back to that. So in 1903, he donated $1 million, which is a lot of money back then. And he founded the GEB, which is the General Education Board. Now, he was on that board, but it was supposed to be for the betterment of society, is what he said. Now, if you understand taxes at all, if you owe $1 million to the government, then you can invest that or give it to charity or do other things with it so you don't have to give it to the government. What better way to spend the money that would have went to the government anyways than to have a controlling interest in the board that educates America's youth, your growing workforce? I'm not trying to make it sound sinister. It's good business. As a businessman myself, it makes perfect sense. It's just like people go out and buy a tractor as a write-off instead of giving that money to the government. It's just good business. You're going to get back on that investment, whereas otherwise you would have just given it to the government. Okay, I can understand that from a business standpoint. But the GEB, General Education Board, their thought process was, we're going to build schools, we're going to improve medical training, and the big push by Mr. Rockefeller himself was vocational training. That was a massive push. And he is quoted as saying that the vocational training push will improve workers' lives through education. And then that will lead to them getting better pay because they're more educated, which will afford them a better quality of life, which inherently means buying the products that he's making. So is it starting to make sense now? Now, his own colleagues through the board were questioning his focus heavy on vocation. Now, mind you, in today's world, heavily focusing on vocation is very strong. But back then, it was questioned because the theory was if they're heavily pushing vocational training, it was considered by others that it was not going to be, or it was going to be limiting to their future in higher education. So less likely to go on to the other schools that the GEB was building because they were so focused on vocation. Which, as a businessman, can you blame him for pushing vocation? Because that would put people in his mines, in his timber mills, in building railroad tracks, in specialized, the people he needed, like in management and specialization, to run his cotton gins, his looms, his breakdown of all, like he literally made oil barrels in some of his factories. He needs vocational workers. This investment for him was building his workforce for the future. Now, I don't want to just slam on him because you got the Rockefeller University. He helped found the University of Chicago. He did many great things. But this business practice is just that. It's a business practice. So when you look at it, if a company did it, no one would say anything. When a person does it, it's kind of irritating because it's one person doing it. And history is littered with people doing things like this, but it still happens today. And let me give you an example. So Standard Oil had to be broken up in the future. But if you go look, and you can look now because it's publicly available, the Rockefeller's portfolio now is investing in all the same companies that do the same thing. Apple. Okay, so if you find somebody that works at Apple or works at Amazon or any of the other companies they're invested in, it's all companies with the same circle of life strategy. We're going to get these people, we're going to train them in-house, then they're going to make a better wage, then we're going to give them discounts to our products. So they spend their money back with us and they want to upgrade every year or whatever. It's the cycle, okay? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but I am saying that you need to realize it, because the moment you do, you'll go, I have to work this many hours for this company, and then I just turn around and go buy their phone every year. And what happens is you get in that cycle, and when it's one thing, it's another. So you may see your neighbor pulling in a brand new truck. You may want to go get a brand new truck. You may see a coworker come in and eat lunch every day by calling and ordering lunch every day. And you may turn around and say, okay, I want to order lunch every day. I'm saying break this cycle because you are literally taught, you do understand that the system, the business of education teaches you this. It teaches you to spend your money back in the business. They want you to know just enough to collect a paycheck and then spend it all back down. That is what his whole plan was with this. It said, I can either give $1 million to the government or I can start shaping the minds of the future in order to continue my wealth and my family's wealth generationally. Was it a bad decision? I can't say that it was. I think he's pretty smart. I think he was ahead of everyone else in business. Do I think it's a good thing for everyday Americans? No. I do not think so. Do I think that you should have the newest phone? I mean, if you feel that it's important to you, if it brings value to your life and it's important to you, yes. Go ahead. Do I feel like you should go get coffee every day? I mean, if it brings value to your life, do it. But don't do everything, okay? You can build wealth so easy in the modern day. And I know things are getting more expensive and that's what everybody cries about. But that's all the more reason to push and realize how you're being pushed through society and the world. This is a fundamental part of every person's youth here. You go to school. If you don't go to school, they take you to jail. Think about that. Truancy officers, who remembers those? You literally go to juvie if you don't go to school. You are forced to be indoctrinated with this thinking from 1903. So if you don't think that the system in a whole wants to control your life, and that this system isn't built and bred to lift up businesses and push down employees, have you ever heard the saying, employee has no chance? There you go. Because you were taught from when you were just 4 and 5 years old going to school that this is the system laid out for you. This is the blueprint you're supposed to follow. If I would have realized all this 10, 15, 20 years ago, I'd be sitting on a yacht making videos for you guys right now. I'm not kidding. The amount of wealth we've built in this short period of time teaches me that if I knew this, and granted, when we're young, none of us listen. And that's why when we're so young and impressionable, it was the best business move ever for Mr. Rockefeller to say, let's get them to go to school, and then we can indoctrinate them into this, and then they can come work for me at my factories, making me even more money. And then on top of that, they'll take their paychecks, spend it on stuff that I make, and I'll make even more money. So it's like triple dipping off each employee. It is the best business move I've ever seen. It's probably the worst thing ever for you and me. So take some time, do the research if you don't think that I'm telling you the truth. If you think I'm being a conspiracy theorist, go ahead. Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think now that you have this information. Because the first thing we're taught is, don't believe everything you see online. Go look it up for yourself, guys. Go look up the current portfolio that's held by the Rockefeller family. And look at the names of the companies in there. And then let me know back in the comments if I'm right or wrong, or if these are all business predatory against their employees. I'm not saying you can't excel in companies, but you have to get outside the normal box and control where your money goes, because you've already been taught what to do and how to spend it. You've already been taught to stay in your little box. Don't go start a business. Go into vocation. Don't start a business. Go in there and just work and get your little paycheck and have the American dream. That is what you're taught. Now, if you haven't already, and I don't know why you wouldn't have, go down, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so you see all of our upcoming videos. Let me know what you think about this. Honestly, please go down in the comments and tell me, after thinking about your time in school and what you were taught and how everything works in the cycle of business, take some time and think about it. Am I right? Go look up online, do your research. Look up Rockefellers and the GEB, which is the General Education Board. Let me know. Because I think you're going to find that everything I'm telling you is the truth. You don't have to agree with it. And please let me know if you see this another way. I'm always open to learn and think about different ways of thinking about this. But from where I stand and everyone I've talked to, it's a real realization when you realize since 1903 we've been taught to basically work for a company, spend the money back in companies like this, and it's part of their business model. And with that said, I will see you in the next one.